The following program is funded in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
I was born in Puerto Rico, and from the time I could walk, I guess, I loved to dance and I loved music. So the first thing I did was that I used to dance to records, and it was really Dance for Grandpa, Rosita. And then when we came to the United States, I was about 5 years old. My mother decided, since I loved it that much, perhaps I should take dancing lessons. And of course, to us as Puerto Ricans, this was the land of opportunity, which indeed it is. I'm a living example of that. And I started taking dance lessons when I was about 5 or 6, and I haven't stopped performing since then. I'm one of those people, I'm the only performer I know of from my cultural background and my age who never did anything else but show business. I have never been a secretary, I have never been a dental assistant or an x-ray technician. The only thing I've ever known or done in my whole life is show business, which is kind of unusual. Very likely, I probably would have worked with children in some way. I do love kids. I only have one child, a daughter named Fernanda. But that's probably what led me to the electric company ultimately. But I love kids, and the reasons for that is that they are moldable. You can help a child to be a kind, good, and loving person. You can help a child to be creative, and you can't do that with grown-ups so readily. And it's nice to work with them. And of course, their sense of wonder absolutely lays me out. I love kids. The saddest and most poignant thing about children is that if they are insulted long enough and told that they are no good, they will believe it. And that's heartbreaking. Everybody is a good person when they start out. What makes them a wicked person is what the adults tell them very often. The thing that helped me the most, that really saw me through the worst times in my life, was something that is a word that, it's a buzzword, it's a word that people hate to hear, but it helped me, and that was psychotherapy. I was in therapy for, oh gosh, about 6 years, which seems like a long time, but I was a working performer, so I wasn't in the doctor's office every single day of my life for those 6 years. And that really saw me through the bad times. It was, for me, a lucky experience. I qualify by saying for me because, unfortunately, in that field there are so many fakers and frauds. You know, psychotherapists who do some terrible things to people. I was one of the lucky ones. It helped me enormously.
The role that people remember you, I think, best in was that of Anita in West Side Story. What was that like, the filming of that? How did you feel when you got the part, you know, when you found that you won the role? And what are some of the memories from that film that stay with you, some of the happiest moments?
Gee, they were all happy. I was so thrilled to get the part. I must tell you that none of us for a minute had an inkling that it would be the kind of success that it was. Today it's a classic, and we never dreamed we were in a classic. In fact, after the movie was done and it was cut together, George Chakiris, who became a good friend, came to me one day and said, I understand that they're going to show the movie in New York on a reserved seat basis, which was a new thing then. You bought your tickets in advance, like for a theater, and they're going to cost, I don't know, $6 or something. I said, what? Oh my God, nobody's going to go see the movie. We're sunk, George. We're cooked. That's it. And the rest is history, of course. But it was a wonderful movie to do. For one thing, all of the kids who were in it, and they were kids, George and I were really the old folks in that movie. I was then I think 26 or 27, and George was about that age. Everyone else was 16, 17. They had never done films before, so their enthusiasm and their interest and their concern for the film was just lovely. I haven't seen it since. You know, people who've done movies for a long time are kind of blasé. They were anything but that. Number two, dancers are notoriously hard workers, and they taught me something that I didn't know about, that even when you're not rehearsing, and when someone else is doing their part, you still go off into a corner and do your part till you get it so it's perfect, that kind of thing. It was wonderful fun. We laughed and laughed and laughed. It was a super experience. When we went to the Academy Awards, George was my date. And I was just, you know, we made all kinds of sour grape speeches in the big limousine that Goldwyn Studios had hired for us on the way to the theater, because we were so sure we wouldn't win, and we made up all these hilarious speeches. I didn't want it anyway, and it's a lousy movie and all that kind of stuff. Never dreaming. Not only did both he and I win, but the film set a record at that time for how many Academy Awards a movie can earn. Oh, it was an unbelievable night.
What was the moment like when, you know, just right when your name was about to be announced? How did you feel?
Well, somehow, I don't remember how I did it, I managed to wangle a ticket for my mother, who just happened to sit right in back of me. She destroyed my hairdo, of course, when my name was called out. She just do hours of work with the hair. And my mother went, wow! And the feeling is really indescribable. For one thing, I have the film at home. When you are a winner, the Academy gives you as a gift that little piece of film where they announce all of the nominees and then the winner and your acceptance speech. And I viewed it recently. I try not to look at it too often, so it's always fresh. And I just put my hands up to my mouth in the film. It wasn't even a film then, it was kinescope. And all I remember thinking was, I mustn't run to the stage. I must have dignity. And it was so hard not to just run up there and grab it out of the arms of Rock Hudson, who was the fellow who gave it to me, because I'd always hated it when I saw people running up and tripping and falling and making fools of themselves. And all I remember thinking is, don't run. Whatever you do, don't run. And don't thank anybody. Because I feel very strongly that if someone chooses you for a role in a film, it's because you have the talent. And it's silly to thank them for your talent. It's nice that you can express appreciation for their having chosen you, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, those speeches where people say, I want to thank so-and-so and so.
All the little people.
Oh, Lord. I just think it's such bull squash. Scared you, didn't I?
You certainly did. About 1971, we find out you're on an electric company, a new children's television series produced by the producers of Sesame Street. What made you want to do that?
Well, I had a little girl by then, and at the time, well, just before, a year before the electric company was conceived of, they were doing Sesame Street, and she and I used to watch it together, which, by the way, I think is important. I think if one of the parents has time, it's very important for a parent to watch television with children, to explain things and to show them that you too are interested in what they're interested in. Then I went into a play on Broadway, which ultimately became a film, called The Ritz. And just about that time, Children's Television Workshop called up and asked if I would be interested in doing a show for them. Well, knowing that they did Sesame Street, which I worshipped. I mean, I think the Muppets, you know, you can throw Paul Newman and Robert Redford at my feet and I'll say hi, but you throw Jim Henson of the Muppets at my feet and I'm dangerous. And when they called me and told me what they had in mind, and that Bill Cosby was also going to be a part of it, at least for the first year, I didn't hesitate for a second. I said, absolutely, yes, I'll do it. Interestingly enough, I was advised by show business people not to, because they said, don't do a children's show. People will think, in the business, will think that you're out of work and you have nothing else to do. And I said, well, tough darts. I want to do it, and the CTW is one of the best outfits in the world. That's it. And if people think I'm doing it because I'm out of work, that's show business. Obviously, it didn't hurt me.
Well,
Didn't hurt Bill Cosby either.
Sure didn't. You've won a Tony, a Grammy, an Emmy?
2 Emmys.
Talk.
Yeah, I don't want to quibble, but
I know, but you were one of the.
I have
You're
an
the
Oscar,
only American
a
to do
Grammy, 2 Emmys, and a Tony. I am, and if you think I'm bragging, you're right. But I am the only woman in history, ever to have won all 4 of the major awards in competition. That means that Barbra Streisand, has all 4, but one of hers is honorary, which I believe is the Tony. I won all of mine in competition, and Guinness Book of Records is interested in that, and I'm so happy.
Oh, good.
A Puerto Rican kid, not bad.
Not bad at all.
But the nicest news is that I just did an absolutely super-duper movie with Alan Alda. It's a film that he wrote and directed. It's his first film, the first film he's directed. And he also co-stars in it with Carol Burnett, if you please. It's called The Four Seasons. It'll be out this spring, and it's so funny. And in the film is Len Cariou of Broadway. He's Sweeney Todd, Sandy Dennis, myself, and Jack Weston, with whom I did The Ritz, and Alan and Carol Burnett. It's very funny.
Are you happy now? You're living in L.A. Do you miss New York?
Oh, they're hookers in Houston, honey. I am so happy. I'm one of the lucky people. You know, I was this crazy neurotic person who somehow made a right turn and found a wonderful life. I have probably one of the best marriages that ever happened anywhere, but especially in show business. I love my man, and he loves me. And I have a daughter who is the air that I breathe, which is something I talk about in my nightclub act. And I have a wonderful career. Who could ask for more?
Now, the other thing I absolutely adore to do with an audience is tell them something very personal about myself that they never knew before. Something so personal that it'll send you home saying, "My God, Walter, did you know that about her?" This is it. Everybody has a different way of measuring their success, right? I want to tell you what my way of measuring my success is. When I'm playing a fancy place like Las Vegas or Tahoe or the Boardwalk in Atlantic City, all these hotels have huge marquees outside. And on those marquees, in very large letters, are the names of the artists that are appearing within. Well, when I see my name on a marquee like that, it catches me, because I know what it has cost me to earn the right to have my name on that marquee. So here's the personal part of me. Every night before the first show in those places, I go outside and I stand in front of that big sucker and I hold my breath and I muster up all of my dignity and I say, "Wow! Woo! Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!" Fooled you. You'd do it too, wouldn't you? Damn right you would. Now you know something very personal about me. I have no class.
The preceding program was funded in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.